In part 1, we broke down the technology, the blockchain, the mining, the mathematics that makes Bitcoin secure. But technology alone doesn't create a currency. Bitcoin has no CEO, no headquarters, no customer service number, no board of directors. Yet somehow, millions of people trust it with billions of dollars. So here's the question: if nobody's in charge, who decides how Bitcoin works? When something breaks, who fixes it? And why does a digital file have value? These aren't technology questions, they're system questions. And the answers reveal something far more interesting than the code itself. Welcome to part 2. Let's start with control. When you use your bank, the bank controls everything. They decide if your transaction goes through. They set the fees. They can freeze your account. They can change the rules. One entity, total power. Bitcoin has no entity. It's a network of independent computers running the same software. Thousands of them, spread across every continent. No single computer is more important than any other. No headquarters coordinates them. No company owns them. This is called decentralization. But here's what makes it strange. These computers need to agree on one shared truth. Which transactions are valid, what the balances are, what the current state of the ledger is. How do thousands of strangers, who don't know each other and don't trust each other, agree on anything? This is the consensus problem. And Bitcoin solves it with a brilliantly simple rule. The longest chain wins. Remember mining? Every 10 minutes, miners race to add the next block. Whoever solves the puzzle first broadcasts their block to the network. Every other computer checks the work. Is the puzzle solved correctly? Are the transactions valid? Does everything match the rules? If yes, they accept the block and add it to their copy of the blockchain. The chain grows by one block. Now here's the critical part. Sometimes, two miners solve a block at almost the same time. They both broadcast. The network temporarily splits. Half the computers see block A first. Half see block B first. Both are valid. So which one becomes the official next block? Whichever chain grows longer first. Miners start working on the next block. Some build on top of block A, others on block B. Eventually, one chain gets another block added to it first. That chain becomes longer. And the network follows the longest chain. The shorter chain is abandoned. The transactions in the losing block get put back in the waiting pool. No vote, no committee, no decision-making authority. Just math, just probability, just the rule: longest chain wins. This is how Bitcoin reaches consensus without a leader. But what happens when Bitcoin needs to change? Technology evolves. Bugs get discovered. New features get proposed. In a normal company, the CEO decides. The board approves. The change happens. Bitcoin has no CEO. So how does it change? Through what's called a soft fork or a hard fork. Let me explain. Bitcoin's rules are written in code. Open source code that anyone can read, copy, or modify. If someone wants to change Bitcoin, they propose a Bitcoin Improvement Proposal, a BIP. Then the community debates. Developers analyze the code. Miners evaluate the impact. Users discuss the consequences. If enough of the network agrees, they upgrade their software to include the new rules. This is a soft fork. The new rules are backward compatible. Old software still works. The network stays together. But sometimes, someone proposes a change that breaks compatibility. A fundamental rule change. This creates a hard fork. The network splits. Some computers run the old rules. Others run the new rules. Two separate blockchains emerge. Two separate currencies. This is how Bitcoin Cash was created in 2017. A group disagreed about Bitcoin's transaction capacity. They forked. They created a new version with different rules. The market decided which have value. Bitcoin kept the majority. Bitcoin Cash became a separate, smaller cryptocurrency. No one could force the network to unite. No authority could declare one version official. The power isn't in any person or company. The power is in consensus, in what the majority of the network chooses to run. And this brings us to the biggest question of all. Why does any of this have value? Bitcoin is not backed by gold, not backed by a government, not backed by anything physical. It's just data, lines of code, numbers in a database. So why is it worth anything? The same reason any money is worth something. Because enough people agree it is. Think about the dollar. 100 years ago, it was backed by gold. You could exchange your paper dollars for actual gold from the government. Then in 1971, that ended. The dollar became fiat currency. It has value because the government says it does and people trust that it does. Bitcoin works the same way, except instead of government decree, it has mathematics and scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, not 21 million and one, not 22 million, 21 million, exactly. This is written into the code. It cannot be changed without the entire network agreeing. And the network has no incentive to inflate the supply because that would devalue everyone's holdings. Compare this to traditional currency. Governments can print more whenever they want. In 2020, the US printed trillions of dollars. The supply increased. The value of each dollar decreased. Bitcoin's supply is fixed, predictable, transparent. Every 4 years, the mining reward cuts in half. This is called the halving. When Bitcoin launched in 2009, miners earned 50 Bitcoin per block. In 2012, that dropped to 25. In 2016, 12.5. In 2020, 6.25. In 2024, 3.125. By the year 2140, all 21 million Bitcoin will have been mined. After that, miners only earn transaction fees. This creates programmed scarcity, digital scarcity, something that has never existed before. And scarcity, combined with utility, creates value. Bitcoin is useful because you can send value across borders instantly with no middleman. It's scarce because the supply is capped. It's trustworthy because the math is transparent and the network is decentralized. That combination creates demand, and demand, in a market with limited supply, creates price. But there's something deeper happening here, something most people miss. Bitcoin isn't just digital money. It's a new way of coordinating human behavior without central authority. For thousands of years, we've organized society around trust in institutions. Banks, governments, corporations. Someone had to be in charge because we needed someone to enforce the rules. Bitcoin proved you can enforce rules through mathematics instead. The rules are transparent. Everyone can see them. Everyone can verify them. No one can break them without the network noticing. This is trust through code instead of trust through authority. And once you understand this, you realize Bitcoin isn't competing with the dollar or the euro. It's competing with the entire concept of centralized control. This is why some governments ban it, why some corporations fear it, why some people call it revolutionary. Because if you can create a currency without a central bank, what else can you create without central authority? Contracts that execute themselves when conditions are met. Organizations that operate through code instead of managers. Voting systems that can't be manipulated. Bitcoin is just the beginning. The technology is called blockchain. But the real innovation is proving that you can build systems where no one is in charge, and yet the system still works. Trust without authority, coordination without control. That's the idea Bitcoin brought into the world. And whether Bitcoin itself succeeds or fails, that idea isn't going away. So where does Bitcoin stand in 2025? 16 years after launch, it's no longer an experiment. Major institutions hold Bitcoin. Investment funds offer Bitcoin exposure. El Salvador made it legal tender. Bitcoin ETFs trade on traditional stock exchanges. The price has crashed and recovered multiple times. Skeptics declared it dead hundreds of times. Yet it's still here, still running, still processing transactions every 10 minutes. It's slower than Visa, more expensive than bank transfers, more volatile than traditional currencies. But it's also uncensorable, borderless, permissionless. No one can freeze your Bitcoin. No one can print more. No one can shut it down. For some people, that's everything. For others, it's useless. The technology works. The question is whether the world needs it. And that question, it's still being answered. Bitcoin solved a problem most people didn't know existed. It proved you can create digital scarcity. It proved you can build trust without authority. It proved you can coordinate thousands of strangers without anyone in charge. The blockchain, the mining, the consensus, the economics. Together, they create something that's never existed before. A financial system with no owner. Whether you think that's revolutionary or pointless depends on whether you trust institutions more than you trust mathematics. And that's a question only you can answer. Thanks for watching part 2 of how Bitcoin actually works. If you want to understand the other technologies reshaping our world, subscribe to Think How, When, Where and Why.